Hello, everybody, and welcome to a short version of what's going on here. I'm Bob Venn, Calvin Castine with the camera, and the noise in the background is the big Chazy River up near the area of the Frog Pond. We've heard that there was a lot of water rushing here, and it certainly is. There is construction going on at what was the old dam. They're rebuilding the dam. You can see from the middle to the south, they have replaced and it's been rebuilt. That will be the height of the dam. Over here they have a temporary dam set up until they can finish up with the cement. It just so happened that early this week, because of the rains we had, or about Wednesday I guess, the water really started to come down the river, and where they only had a trickle through this area right here, that tree was not there on Wednesday or before Wednesday. All of a sudden, the water has been coming down, and they guess they had to open up a little bit here to let this water come through. As a result, they can't do any work on the dam for the last couple of 3 days, and they've got to get it done before winter because they said the ice will tear out that temporary if it doesn't get finished. You can see the turbulence of the water. Calvin was up earlier. The job is being done by the Luck brothers, who did the bridge, on the Webb-Dubois Road. They've been here, I guess, for several months, and they've had a great October, and they've gone along well. However, that's one thing about water. You've got to waylay it another way in order to work on it, but now it's so high, they just can't, just coming over the top of the temporary dam. And they've been pretty busy inside and picking up today, so they didn't have time to talk with us. We hope to get back next week if they're here and the water slows up to kind of explain what it's all about. I did talk to the person in charge, and we were told the dam is being resurrected because of the lamprey. I don't know whether they're trying to keep them from going up or coming down. It must be they're trying to stop them from going up from the lake. So that's one of the reasons. And this dam was here years ago. It used to divert the water to the north, where it ran down a canal, and that's where we got our water for the village of Champlain, I believe. I think this is the area that it went up. We're at the area, the grounds of the Frog Pond. The river is really mad here today, as you can see. You can even see that it's coming along here, that they got a little temporary setups here that had no problems before, and now it's even running between them. And they put up a temporary road going out so they have a place for their truck to drop the cement and so forth. Very interesting, very noisy as a matter of fact. And if you were from Texas and had your 37 inches of rain, you know what rain is all about. Off to my right here, you see some abutments. These two abutments in the river, and here was the bed of the railroad that used to come through here. The Rutland and years ago, the Ogdensburg Lake Champlain, it came down from that area, and they had the crossing here at the bridge. That's all been taken down. So this has been a very important spot in Champlain for both the river and the railroad and the dam. It was and I don't know, I don't remember much other than that. I'm sure some of our locals do. Calvin?
Why don't you explain to the people who are unlike us and don't know what you're talking about when you say the Frog Pond?
Okay. The Frog Pond, I don't remember the person's name. In the late 30s, there was a German family that moved in this area, and he established some, they're like swimming pools, but they were narrower and not quite so deep, and he started to raise frogs here at what we call the Frog Pond. And you had to have water running through it on a regular fresh water. And he raised frogs and sold frogs and frog legs throughout the Northeast and some, I guess, into Canada. They used to ship some of the frogs out by post office. They someone out, I think, and they probably received some baby ones. I'm not really sure. I'm not really prepared for that, except that went on here for 8 or 10 years at least, back in the 40s. And I can recall the speculation that was going on because it was a German family. The rumors around the community was that the Germans had planted some spies here in Champlain because of the war effort to be near Montreal and the border. But of course that was nothing to that. I think the name was Noonfelt or something of that nature, and they had a big business here, very, very big business. Thousands and thousands of frogs, and they shipped frog legs, which are a delicacy and very expensive, by the way. That's all I know right now. If we come back up next week, I'll be better prepared. And maybe we can talk with, we're trying to get a hold of Bill LaBelle and some other people who could probably tell us a little bit more about that. I'm sure they've been swimming here, fishing here, and whatever. I can remember reading in the North Countryman, I can't give you a year right now, but I think it was in the 30s or early 40s, that, and I won't give any names right now because I don't have the complete name, but there was someone from Champlain and his grandmother and his aunt that were fishing in this area over here on the other side of the railroad crossing, and they decided to stop fishing, and they walked across the railroad. And when they walked across here, apparently the train was coming from Moore's, and they didn't hear it until the last minute. There's a curve or something, and there they were stuck, and they started to run, and they knew they would not get off the bridge, and they couldn't jump because there were a lot of rocks in addition to the water. So the two ladies, as I understand this from the paper, lay down on the cross ties on the outside of the track and hugged the ties, hoping that they would not be knocked off or hit by the train, while the young boy hung over the side and hung on to one of the railroad ties. And both ladies were knocked off, by the way. The younger, I got to remember now, I think the younger lady was killed. The aunt was killed. The grandmother was injured, and the young boy didn't get hurt because he was hanging. And that was in the headlines in the North Country. I had never heard about it, and maybe if I can get that, I could read that to you later and maybe give you some names to be sure. Well-known people here in the village of Champlain. Just a little aside to this dam and this rushing water today. We'll be right back.
Well, they're going to be nice after that dam is all in.
Good morning from the windy shores of the Big Chazy River. It's Monday morning, the 7th of November, and we've come back to see what the sun is shining, but the wind is real sharp. They were, I understand men were sent home, but were told to come back. The sun is out, and they want to protect the cofferdam. We're here on the shores with a well-known person from Champlain by the name of Bill LaBelle. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning.
Bill, how long have you lived in Champlain?
About 70 years.
70 years. Where were you born?
Champlain.
In Champlain, then you moved away for a while?
We went to Burlington. We were there about 9 years.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, then we come back.
But you're not telling me you're 70 years old.
No, I'm a little older than that.
You're a little older. Bill, you have a very good memory, and people know Bill LaBelle primarily for the ski shop.
Yeah, that's right.
How long did you work at the ski shop?
40 years.
40 years. And you were the manager?
Well, I managed it for about 25.
So you started as a...
I just started just an ordinary worker.
Uh-huh.
10 hours a day, 6 days a week.
6 days, 10 hours.
Oh, them days, every day was the same.
Was it $10 an hour, too?
20 cents.
20 cents an hour.
Yeah.
Well, Bill, you must have made more money along the way somewhere, because you have a big family. You and your wife?
Well, I wasn't married then. I got married in 41.
Who'd you marry?
I married a girl that came up from New Jersey with her father. Her father came up here to work for us in Tremblay as a bookkeeper.
Okay, what was her maiden name?
Puttock. Puttock.
P-U-T-T-O-C-K. Okay, and you married her, and then you have 9 children or 8?
10.
10. did.
7 boys.
7 boys, and they're mostly in the area?
Yeah, except 3 of them.
Three of
One's
them.
in Kansas City, Missouri. One's in Bricktown, New Jersey, and one's in Virgins, Vermont.
All right, well, we won't go through all their names with 10, but, and you're feeling very well.
Oh,
you want to
yeah.
give us your age? Tell the people here your age. We
Oh,
could.
86.
He's 86 years old.
I'll be 87 in January. I was
Unbelievable.
born the same day as Douglas MacArthur.
Is that right? The same day?
26th of January, but not at the same time. He was born he was born 28 years before me.
Oh, you got that all figured out, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Bill,
One score and 8 years before me.
Bill is
I was
very,
born
very,
7 years.
very active, still gets out and around, and he's got a muscle here like a working farmer today.
Well, you learn that when you're young working.
Yeah, but mine is all gone. The branches are falling from the trees. It's very windy, and we doubt very much if there's any leaves left on the trees this morning,
Oh,
Bill.
not much, no. So, boy, it blew pretty hard during the night.
It sure did. Bill, you were telling us that you remember this area
Oh,
for
yeah.
many,
I
many
practically
years.
grew up here. My kids practically all grew up in here, around here.
What was the attraction here that brought you here?
Well, the trapping, hunting and trapping, and fishing.
Oh, you trapped?
I've trapped a lot when I was a kid, yeah, young. And used to walk through here, way up to Southwick's farm, way back around the houseboat, and walk back every night.
And then, what would you do if you, how many could you carry? You leave
Well,
on the side?
sometimes I'd skin them.
Were you walking? Did you have a car?
No, walk. Them days, no cars. Everybody
You'd
walked.
skin them there?
Sometimes I'd have to, I'd carry them home.
And you were, what, muskrat
Yeah, muskrat and minks.
and minks, huh?
Yeah.
I didn't know
The
that
coon and fox were scarce them days, early days. There weren't many around.
there were mink running loose
Oh,
around
well,
here?
mink, yeah,
Oh, I didn't know that. There is,
There's
huh?
still a lot of them.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
How many traps would you have, say, in
Oh,
a...
I guess probably 30, 40 traps I'd have set out. Then Sunday I go out and I change them, move them around.
That's only in the winter? You do
all
that?
the year. The winter it's too hard.
Too hard?
Yeah.
The fall, mostly. Huh?
Yeah.
All right, so you're very familiar here.
Oh, yeah.
Now, was that dam built when you moved to Champlain?
Oh, yeah. That dam they built way back probably 1880s or probably before around that time.
Right.
But it was in good shape then. They let it go. I guess it's too much, too long.
They repaired it along the
I
way?
suppose they did as time went on. They would, yeah.
All right. Now, was it basically the same place?
Same site, but the same height.
Right. They
everything.
told us they've gone over
But the other
further
thing
with
is,
it.
they had a buttman over there. They didn't come around like that.
Right.
Then they had the cement buttman, but like on this end here, and the dam went stopped right there, straight. Now they got it turned around. They come to the old railroad bed.
Did you ever swim here?
My kids, I used to bring my kids to swim here below here because there's not much water when they're little, you know.
Well, okay. What about above the dam?
Well,
How
above-
deep
I
is
never
it?
swam up above there, but I know that the Racines used to have a place here, and they'd swim there.
Uh-huh.
Doc Racine, his brothers.
Right. Now, they've got nearly half of it done.
Yeah.
About half the width.
Yeah.
And this is primarily, they tell me, so that the lamprey can't go up. Is that correct?
Well, it broke over there. The land was washed out on that end over there, and everything was going up there in the spring, high water. Before that, you never had any lampreys or suckers or mullets up there. They went right up in there.
Right.
Now they can't go up, see.
We were here the other day. We made about, I don't know, 10 minutes or so, and I was talking about these two abutments. Do you remember the train going through here?
Well, twice, yes. Well, I remember when Lyndhurst Artaby's aunt got killed here.
Now, all right, just a moment. I mentioned the other day, and I didn't know you were going to talk about it, of an accident that happened here when the two ladies and a man were on the bridge. Now, who was this, you say?
That's Sonny Artaby. He lives right up on Oak Street, on the corner there, the brick house.
Okay.
And his grandmother and his aunt.
Right.
They were. I was telling him how good the fishing was up here. So one day they come up, they got in the middle of the bridge, and they fished, and the train come over. Of course, they couldn't move that fast. His mother, grandmother, and all that, and his aunt. So he went on the side and held on to the beams on the side. When the train, they jumped off her, and his grandmother got a hell of a bump on her head, and she didn't die, but his aunt got killed.
Now, I didn't mention
His
this.
aunt's name was Leffert.
See, I couldn't remember it, and I read it within the past year. This man probably hasn't talked about it in the past 40, and he remembers her name is
Leffert.
Leffert.
She used the herb shop. She run the herb shop in Champlain, the Arcade Building.
Now, his family used to own the Champlain Hotel.
Yeah.
Correct?
Well, his mother married Hubert Laventure.
All right.
and she was a Ardeby, and she married Hubert LaBoncher, and she had Sonny. We always call him Sonny Linders, and she had a daughter, and the daughter. Then they bought that house up on Hope Street, and they moved there from. They used to live right in the hotel, and they moved up there.
Do you remember what year what
No,
might have happened?
I don't know exactly. That's a long time ago.
I know it was in the 30s, I believe, but I don't know when it was in the 30s. So the Rutland went by here. How many trains a day were going through Champlain?
Well,
Any idea?
I don't know, 2, 3. I know there was one that came through at night because we used to work packing stuff, and that Earl Smith would be there with a little pickup truck. We'd push stuff on his truck, and he'd rush to the train station around 7:30, something like that, 7:30.
So you shipped your stuff by the Rutland?
Yeah, they went left here like that, and they got down to New York City, so Macy's and Van Burgers would have the stuff to sell the next day.
Right. Now, back then, there weren't as many trucks on the road.
No, there was hardly no trucks at all.
There weren't like it is today.
No,
Today it's all
everything
trucks.
went by train. The mail came in by train. They came in the evening. We waited at the post office. The train, the mail had come in, and there was Margaret Senecal and her sister. They'd press it out, and we checked if we had any mail.
All right. Now, there was another little abutment here. What is this cement thing that's out here? What's that for?
That was put up there by Noonfelt to get water in through a little canal when he was raising them frogs.
All right. Now, he was here during the 40s.
Yeah.
And I was just reading last night or the night before that he had a robbery up here. There were 3 people from Rouse's Point. We won't mention any names. I don't remember them. But they robbed him of over 200 pounds of live frogs, and they were caught. And I guess all of them were...
I don't remember. That's funny.
Yep, that happened back in, I think, 1948 or 49. And so he had that installed, and I think you said you thought it was Israel Manette?
That's right.
That's my wife's grandfather, my mother-in-law's father, Lucille, and Frank Manette's father, and they were Israel. And probably Frank had something to do with building this too, because...
Maybe you should talk to him about that.
We could, yeah. He spent a lot of time, of course, working with his dad over the years. And you told me that there's a footprint out at the end of that?
Yeah, on the end, unless it's gone from there. But I think that the cement's still there. That was on it there.
And that was Mr. Noonfelt?
Noonfelt, and I think his name is Noonfelt, and 2 footprints like
that. All right.
Yeah.
Now, Noonfelt came here from out of the area.
I don't know. Yeah, that's right. I don't know just where he came from.
Was that house built when he first came, or did he have it built?
He built it when he first come here.
He did, and you think that was Israel Manette?
That was nothing here.
There was nothing here?
No, we used to come through here, a bunch of us, go out hunting, and we'd come here, and we'd get around the bend down there. There's a big pine tree, and we'd sit down there, and if we had a partridge or 2 or something like that, we'd clean them and go out in the river and then fry them over a fire. But there was nothing there. They were just beautiful.
Yeah. Now, Bill, if you cross over here into the pines and go south, where does that come out?
You come right out to where the Racines now. It's Tetro's on that farm, I believe.
Oh, okay. Up on the Webb Dubois Road.
Yeah.
All right.
The house that's away from the road.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Jean-Paul Tetro lives there. That's where that comes out.
Yeah.
Was there good fishing here?
Oh yeah, beautiful. You used to be nice fishing right now. Like I was telling you, one day I was fishing over there, and I see this woman coming through the brush, all white. I couldn't figure out what was going on. I was looking. My wife was down below the dam with a couple of kids there, and she come in, and I couldn't figure out. And they go, all I want, she came to the edge of the river and fell in. It was Mrs. Lambert. She was drunk. Yeah.
And she fell. So did you jump
there,
in?
I was on that side. I was looking through the trees during the summertime. There's a lot of brush. Couldn't figure that white thing moving, come in, and all that was bloom. So I ran around, pulled her up. She was soaking wet.
Well, now, if you hadn't have been there...
She drowned.
You'd have drowned, right?
Yeah, my wife was right there on the below the dam.
Because she wasn't coming out because she saw you or your wife.
No,
she just came out.
She had the night gown on.
Huh. Sleepwalking.
Probably, I don't know.
Was this in the daytime?
The daytime.
It was.
Right in the early afternoon, I think it was. And my wife was right there. And I don't know, 2 or 3 little kids with her. We always brought them there because there's very little water in the summertime. There's no danger. And I was over there fishing. They jumped in a while, you get some nice bass in here.
Uh-huh.
And I see that come in. And
so when you were trapping, there's decent money in trapping back then?
Yeah.
That helped your income for the family?
Well, I used to make $25, $30 a week.
You did?
Trapping, then make $12 a week working.
Okay, we'll take a short break and come right back. The wind is blowing on the shores of the mighty Big Shazy River, and we're here with Bill LaBelle, the fixture
in a very windy day.
in a very windy day. We've walked downriver about 300 feet from where we were. You can see the sheets of water coming over the new section of the dam, and you can also see the dam they built here. And as Bill was explaining to us, Bill, explain about the water here. Now this, they have to let the water get out.
They could close this off here so the water could go through their canal.
And they had a canal that ran down through and went in where the frogs were.
So just below the old waterworks pump house. Just comes right out there.
Okay.
And there, that's fixed up here. I don't know what that is. It's like a big drum with screen all around. And they put their bags there, and they'd lower it down. And when they get down there, that current would spin it. The force of the current would spin that big drum.
Okay, and they had the frogs?
No, that's the bag.
The bag?
The bag
okay.
the frogs came in. They would wash them, see?
Okay, they'd wash them in here.
Then they'd raise it up and then take the bags out. Then they would reclose that, and then the water would go back in there.
Yeah. Now the water wasn't usually as high as this. We're getting a lot of water right now because of the rain.
It's like that after a big rain, but normally it's not like that.
And so that it didn't go over the top, it ran down the canal instead. Now, Bill, you were talking about walking from here to the Oxbow and so forth. How far is the Oxbow from here?
Oh my God, must be 2.5 miles probably.
So you made a 6-7 mile trip with those with your traps?
Right up there, then right up to follow the creek up, Beaver Creek, right up to Southwick's farm up there. Well, I don't know who's on that farm now. It used to be Southwick. And way around, there was a big, the big ditch there, right in the field, a brook that runs in the field. I go up to the end of that, then come right back on towards Ferrisville the other way.
Now, you weren't the only one that was trapping.
Oh no, there was a lot of others.
So when you went along, you went to your own traps. Would anybody steal from other people's traps?
We used little traps them days.
Yeah? But would they take your things out of your trap once in a while?
Everything.
They would, huh?
Yeah. Then they start putting tags on trap, but that doesn't make much sense putting tags on. Anybody can just pull the tag.
Well, the reason they put a tag is so that they'll know who to watch out for.
Yeah.
You see, that they know when they take yours. The wind is really howling out here. You can see the water is really churning.
They go off over there, see them fat, and they'll wait some other time when the water.
It'd be better when we're not, because the water's coming over the top, and we don't need to fall in today. The wind is helping us too.
Yeah, I know the wind's terrible. If you're up there, it'll shove you off. Yeah, but I remember when this was running full blast here.
Okay. I see the lady coming down here. It looks like Mrs. Marquardt.
Yeah, I was right there fishing. I was over there, and I see that something coming from the house.
Yeah.
Walking over.
There
was a lot of brush them days. Now, pretty well clean now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I guess they keep it clean in here.
And they built a wall all the way along the shore here, you can see, to keep the water back so that you can keep the water within the sluiceway to get it down through the canal.
Yeah. That was all covered here, you know.
Was covered?
That was roof right over everything. Oh, yeah.
Oh?
Yeah, that was the roof over everything.
It wasn't, was it flat or was it at a hip? Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, just 1 minute. Mrs. Marquardt says she doesn't want to be on TV, but she's got a...
I'm Barbara. I'm Barbara's father. We were here yesterday. We're here.
We're about 100 feet down in this canal. You can see where we were out there next to the river. Then it came down through, and you can see what 50 years or 40 years does when you don't use something. The sides of this are caving in on this side because there's no water to hold them back, and the land is pushing from this side. Now, Bill mentioned, I think we did it on camera, that this was all covered. It wasn't open. And obviously, these big railroad ties were part of the cover. And as you look down this way, you can see more of them. I don't know why there's openings between like this, if that's for water to go out. There's another... I guess there were frogs throughout this area. And Bill, do you know why these openings were here? Between?
No,
The water could go in and out or
I
something?
don't know. It's possible.
Don't know?
You fix or you can see where they put stuff down in there. There's slots in there. I don't know why it was like that.
Now, you said that there were screens.
Screens so that the water would wash over the frogs.
So,
Yeah,
so the frogs were on the screens.
So they wouldn't be washed up till
Right,
the...
okay, and then they could get washed and they keep in the water and they could hop around, and they didn't hop out because they had a roof on it.
yeah. There was roof over it.
And they would harvest every day. They
They
were
were high enough so they couldn't jump out, and then I guess they were on screens, like she said. And
now they always shipped the legs out. Did they ever ship live frogs?
I believe they shipped them life until some universities and colleges and labs.
Labs around, exactly.
I
Now
know they used to ship them in boxes with a little screen on it. And I've seen them at the railroad station.
Now, Bill, did they buy frogs too?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
From anybody that brought that would
I
no
think that-
particular kind of frog?
That Miss Lambert, I believe, came from Canada. When she the one that was bringing the frogs, I believe that one she was bringing the frogs from Canada. Miss Lambert. Yeah. And she stayed there too for a while. As far as I know, after he died, I think she was still living here.
Yes, she was still here.
Yeah.
So, did they hire many people? Do you know?
Oh, they probably had half a dozen or more probably at the time.
We always talk about the frog pond, and we assume, and there was really no pond here at all. They were
It's a farm.
It was a farm,
Just
a
like
frog farm.
They're raising just like
Yep.
a mink farm
Yep.
and stuff like.
You could see down there where the moss is on top of the where they're crossing over the top to keep the frogs in. Of course, you didn't worry about rain hitting because the more water, the better. So he built all of this from scratch when he came here.
Yeah, there was nothing here. They just dug this out, and they built that all through there. Built all the farm, the cement. I believe it. Your father-in-law, Israel Manette, I believe, done all this work.
You see, if you look down on the sides, there apparently is a little indentation, and that was probably to hold the screen up you were talking about. You see, there's an indentation in the... I've never been down here. I came once when they had the frogs, but never got in very far. I was working on the farm and didn't get here. But it was a very interesting place, obviously. And I don't know whether they still have frog farms around or not.
It's possible.
Other places, I guess.
Places, yeah.
Because they're still eating frogs.
They used to get them from Vermont, and a lot of them from Canada. A lot of them from Canada.
And remember, there were a lot of other areas down here where
A lot of local people would bring frogs in.
A lot of kids made their money that way.
That's right, huh?
Yeah.
They would pay them, what, by the pound, live pound?
Yeah.
You're seeing it here on Hometown Cable. We're here with Bill LaBelle and the lady who keeps moving behind us here. Careful for your eyes on those trees. Very peaceful down there. I bet it's beautiful on a calm day, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Got to be a beautiful spot back here. We'll be back.
We're now across the way from where we were, closer to the river, and you can see from the cement that still protrudes here and there that they would let some of the water out and it would come back. There is a canal that runs adjacent to the river, kind of parallel to it, and there's a road of sorts alongside the river leading back. And according to Mr. LaBelle, this road was built up. As you can see, there are stones along here. This road was constructed. It wasn't here naturally. They built this road up for access. And there was water, the river on the right, and the canal bringing the excess water back to the river, and it crossed here at this little area here where there's still a bridge that remains, and would re-enter the river right there. The little road continues into the woods toward the area where the old water tower used to be. In that general direction, we'll try to find out more about that road as we talk with Bill LaBelle and Mr. and Mrs. Marquardt, who reside here now. Bill LaBelle does not reside here, the Marquardts do. But they've disappeared in the other direction, so we're going to head back and catch up with them.
Well, we're back with Bob's back on the camera, the mic rather. Calvin showed you where the water went back into the river, and the road he was talking about makes a complete circle back and comes out right where he's pointing the camera. It ran on the outside of this canal. This canal runs right behind the house. It kind of swings more inland here, you can see. And then this were a couple of buildings. This is the foundation and floor of the slaughterhouse, where they used to slaughter the frogs, take the frog legs. And I'm told that right over where to the right-hand side there, where the red bench is, that was the area where they removed the legs. And then right over here where the bench with no back was the cooler. It's raised a little bit here on the left. That was the cooling area. And then the rest of the frog that they didn't use, you only used the legs. Do you know about them?
Well, I believe they were to give them to farmers, whoever wanted them. They'd throw them in the field and plow them in.
They said that Gerald Blaine's father left a truck over here. They would throw the remainder of the frogs in, and they would spread them on the land for fertilizer.
Yeah.
And then they would be also. We were told that on the other side of the house there were 3 ice houses where they kept the ice, I guess, to put the legs in when they were shipping them. And they were just on the other side of the house. They're all gone now. The building that's here now, do you know what that was used for?
That must have been the packing room.
The packing room, possibly?
Possibly.
Yeah.
The packing place.
There's room there, 2 floors. And I also was told that upstairs over this slaughterhouse, there was an apartment for Miss Lambert.
And her office.
And her office was upstairs because the house was not there at the time. The house was there. All right, the house was there.
He lived there. He had with his wife. Did he have any children?
Yes, he had a son.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, did he stay and die in Champlain, or did he?
I don't know that.
Left the area.
Ron would tell you. He died on a train, I think it was.
On a train.
Now, if I don't, you don't have to ask Ron.
Okay.
I don't know.
Ron, we're going to talk to him in a little bit later. You can see here up above where there's a cement across the middle of the little canal here, and there's slots in it where they could drop down like a dam and dam it off when they wanted to. The only thing we don't know is why one side of the dam it's not solid. On this side it is solid. I'm not sure about that unless it lets the water run out, or they must have had screens to keep the frogs. There's a lot of construction. As you look, we're looking east now on the straightaway on the canal that Calvin has the camera on, and the wall's in better shape along there. This was quite an undertaking back in the 40s, and it was new to the area, and a lot of comments were made about this, and it became known as the Frog Farm, and most people in the northern tier had heard of, and as far as we know, it was the only one in Clinton County. Okay, you're looking at the main, or the newer, I was told, canal where the frogs were kept. But over here, closer to the driveway coming in, is another. This is the one I remember. When we used to drive in here, you could see it, and you could see the frogs. And you see it runs down through here, and it also runs, there's trees growing in it now, and it goes down, then it goes down as regular square. And the water for this one came from the other side of the railroad track. In other words, the west side came underneath the road and flowed out. So these are 2 separate units, and the water from one did not go into the other. This is the one that I remember. And you think this might have been the older one, Bill?
That's the first one, I think. Yeah, that's the older one.
And the water from this came from the other side of the driveway?
Yeah.
No?
It came from that dam down there.
The dam there? But
And it came down. You'll have to see up there where
okay,
it came
the
down.
water came down through this way and came out underneath?
No, right along this side of the railroad track.
On this side of the railroad track? Okay.
West side.
and then it came down in through here. You can see how.
Valves are over there that opens up. It
Okay.
lets the water in.
And way over on the other side. We'll go over and look over there. I didn't realize it was this complicated down here. Really, I did not. I just thought there was a bunch of ponds, but you can see that there was it has to be running water.
Well, they were, things were going good. They were making money, and they figured they'd change and then make it bigger.
Uh-huh. Do you know what year it ended? Any idea at all? Had to be in the 50s?
No, it was before the 50s.
Before the 50s it
Wasn't it?
ended?
Yeah.
No, because that thing out there was built in the 50s.
The 50s?
It was in the 50s.
The 50s it ended?
That came to me was before that. Maybe not. That's over 40 years ago.
It's awfully hard to try to figure out when something stopped unless you wrote it down
Yeah,
somewhere,
yeah.
because time kind of flits away on us. All right, we'll move over and look at the other side closer to the road.
Or you can go right down that.
You are looking up what was the driveway that came into the place, and there you see the outhouse or the building we have near where the village of Champlain's water is. And just to the left of that building is the highway. Between the highway and the building was the big water tower. This water you see on the left was the water that was diverted. That used to be the water for the village of Champlain that came from the river when it was diverted back at the dam. The railroad bed is just to the left, and that today is the driveway, but this used to be the driveway. When it came through here, we were also told that there was a canal that... Okay, you want to tell us about this canal?
Well, this was all an open ditch,
Right.
and they had a canal there that would feed this part of the frogs.
Okay. So it would come down to this spot where you see the pipes, and then go underneath your driveway, or their driveway, and then lead down to the...
That wasn't the driveway when they first done that. They built this driveway after.
Okay.
That wasn't, because there was nothing in there.
There was no.
driveway.
In other words, you didn't need a driveway. There was no place.
No.
Okay, so
They built that, like she said there, and then they built the driveway after that. All the traffic was right through here.
Okay. Now this is the one that I remember,
Yeah.
and I didn't realize that the water was so important. I thought you just filled it and left it, but you have to have fresh water running through it.
See, those were steps going down.
All right, these were the steps here that were actually you could walk down. Right here.
Yeah. See, there's two valves down there.
Yep. The valves on either side of that pit that let the water go, can let it come in or go out.
I suppose they let them go that way, and then some went
Yep.
that way.
It went both ways and went right around, and that's where they kept the frogs. Now, it would be hard to imagine, but there must have been hundreds of thousands of frogs here.
Oh, yeah.
Huh?
A lot of them, yeah.
And a lot of them were natural births. They had their own frogs. And then many others were the frogs that they bought and put in here.
Some were small ones. They grew in there till they were of that size to...
They must have been all over each other. They would be like...
Well, they were packed.
They were packed,
Yeah.
didn't they?
You were full.
They didn't have their own space.
No, well, they were spaced off. I think as they get bigger and bigger, I suppose it's like these hatcheries, you know, with fish. They keep moving them from one thing to another as they get bigger. That's probably what he was doing.
They must have been pollywogs along here somewhere. Not when they're real small, right?
Yeah.
Down here at the end, there is part of a building still standing,
Uh-huh.
way down at the end.
I don't know if there's anything printed about the frog farm. I've looked in the North Countryman, and I had something. I looked for it last night, did not find it in my records, but I will find something eventually. Just a story.
You have to go through around that time, in the 50s. Of course, you got to look through it. There's a lot of them.
Now, see, this is what I remember when I would drive in and see this, and that's why I thought they were like little swimming pools. Yeah, there's another one. You see it way over where the other section we showed. It's not as deep.
Yeah, they were thick. They went down there. I suppose they then went across.
Yeah, they went across into another.
Yeah. For some reason.
Well, probably because of different age of the frogs, as you mentioned.
They kept growing.
Because they have to keep track of. You don't want to be sorting out, take one and leave the other one back. They must have kept them by size. just what they do with the salmon. Someday we're going to go up into the Chateauguay area and see the fish farms run by the state. And there are also...
But they were closed when we went there. It was on a Sunday and they were closed.
Yep, there's some of the screening you can see down below. That's the left. The rest of it's all gone, but there's some of the screening that was used. Apparently that's the one that stopped them from going further down. It was put...
Like this.
They were on the screen, yes.
Yeah.
We're trying to visualize here. You can see that this highway, or the driveway, was very high, and you had water on both sides. Well, a hill on this side, you had your water in your canal. And right at where it turns to go back into the river, there was a little building here. Don't know what this building did or why it was here, but you can see what remains of it. When you don't take care of something, it just takes over, and then... you know, dirt will go over the top of these cement, and 100 years from now, no one will even know it was here. And then, as you can see, it turned a right angle and headed out toward the river where the water could leave. In between is the shallow area that we showed you way up above. And then way over is the main one that was built later. That's the main one we saw when we first came down. And they all emptied in the river at the same spot. Very interesting, and a lot of history here. It didn't last a long time, probably 20 years at the most. What, 20, 30 years maybe?
What is it on the sign?
Is there a sign? About 36 years? Oh, it started in 36 and maybe done by 56, 58, so you're talking 20 some odd years here, no more, and then it just stopped.
He died.
He died, and no one else took over. And the building to our left here is the village of Champlain's old building, where they used to have the water for the village of Champlain. And the back of us here is the pond we used to use. And now, of course, we're getting it from wells in the village of Champlain. We've been wanting to come up here before, and it was very kind of the Bill LaBelle to come up here. He always remembers a little bit about this, you know, and the Marquards to let us come up here. And we're going to see some pictures where we'll see some of this back in its heyday. I don't know what they are, but we'll see some of the intake way back where with the wood on top of it, maybe the ice houses and something else that were here. We're glad you're tuned to Hometown Cable, and we hope you're glad you're tuned to Hometown Cable. It's on Channel 21, remember. Hometown Cable every day of the year. The Castines here, Calvin and Sam, bringing you happenings in the North Country. A lot of sports, a lot of things that are important, a lot of meetings at 1 o'clock, 4:30, 8 p.m., midnight, and then 8 the following morning. 5 chances to see any and all of the programs. And if you like what you're seeing, you're going to have to tell Calvin or Sam or myself so we'll know what you want to see. We're taking our own choices now, but maybe you have some ideas. Last night I was watching the discussions about Mr. and Mrs. Minor, and I found that very interesting. We hope you did too. They had fencing up here. I don't know what this is for. Do you know?
He had this all fenced in because he didn't like people to be on the property.
Okay. That kept the people back.
Fenced in over there too.
Oh, along the river?
Along the river.
Yeah.
But it's all going down now. But no, he didn't like people coming on.
Do you have any idea how old he was when he died? Was he an older man? I don't remember.
Ron knows that more than
I don't remember him at all. I heard the name and that's it. Again, we're at the Frog Farm, former Frog Farm, on the old Route 11. This is where Route 11 used to be, along through Perry's Mills and right into Champlain, and it was a busy road right here. And right across, many years ago, just up the road was Whiteside's Crossing, where they had a place where the railroad stopped, and this is an old area here. The water came down through here, also ran along the road and went down to the Whiteside's Mill, which was just down the way. Also, plenty more had a sawmill there. Just one of the first sawmills in the town of Champlain was just down the road, maybe less than an eighth of a mile.
500 feet, something like that.
Right, not very far, just down the road. And right where you see this green area, that's where this big water tower was. Remember the water tower, Bill?
Yeah, I got
I do
pictures
too.
taken from
You got
it.
pictures taken?
I took one picture I took from the top of it, down towards the village.
From the top?
Yeah.
Down. Do you remember when they took it down?
Yeah.
Remember how it was falling for a little while and left it, what, one leg gone?
That's,
We're looking back at the temporary dam again. They're working out there, and I'll tell you, it's hard to talk here. The wind coming down this area of the river is hard to keep standing. And you remember the big log we saw in the early part of this that was right across where that white wire is running, is right up here on shore now. They pulled it out today. I guess it was today, to let the water run free, get it out of its way. And they're not getting much done here today. It's just pretty impossible to even stand. And if you face the wind and try to talk, your voice comes back in your mouth. There's another tree up above they're going to have to move before that causes damage. I don't know what they do or how to get that out of there when things slow down. The water is not quite as high as it was, but it's still running down here fierce. I believe there's a valve. It's knocking me over here. There's a valve right over there. We're going to go over there to get to. There's a valve down below that lets the water that was here run down to fill in these last canals. I think you can see the two valves underneath here, and they let the water that was backed up here go down through the canal and ran all the way down to where it would hit the old series of canals that we saw where the frogs were. And they could keep the water high or low right by letting it through with these valves. They haven't been used for years.
That's all going to be closed in.
All closed in now. Will be closed. When you see these dams and you see these people earn their money out there in a day like today. And of course they can't do the work they'd like to do today, but it's fierce out there. My hands are very cold here. The temperature, I think our Indian summer has left us.
You lost that thing up in there. Look, he found it. I know that.
We've come into the house and we're going to be talking with the other owner of the property here, Ron Marquardt. Do you pronounce it Marquardt?
Yes, I do.
And spell it for us.
Marquardt.
If you've been to the parades in the area and you saw that great big truck, that 1950
1950 Mac.
Mack truck that's in the parade zone, so well, this is the owner here that drives that, and I've known Ron for a few years. And Ron, where are you from originally?
Chicago, Illinois. That's where I was born.
You were? How did you get to the northern tier here?
My father was with the St. Regis Paper Company. He worked in Chicago for a company called the Bates Machine Shop Company. And the St. Regis Paper Company sponsored a contest for a machine. They invented a multi-wall paper bag that you could fill without, it was already closed. And they wanted a machine designed to do the filling and to improve on their patent. And my father never went far in school, but he was a mechanical genius. And he worked for, and an engineer that worked for the Bates Machine Company designed the machine to do it. And my father built the patent model. And of course, as soon as St. Regis heard about it, they bought out the company and everything. And that's how he came up here. He came from Chicago to Oswego in 1942. And I was in the service. I was in two different branches of the service. And when I came out of the service, I went to Clarkson. I was working my way up north. And after that, I went into the trucking business for the old Mason Brothers and Smith Transport firms.
Driving?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, I didn't know
Oh, you
that.
didn't know that?
I didn't know that.
Oh, I was
No,
there
I'm
for-
finding out.
I was
Yeah.
there for about 20 years.
I didn't know that.
Well, from 1956 until 1969, 13 years. 66, yeah, it's 13 years. And I'm retired now.
Well, then, then somewhere along you retired from there, but then you went in the United States Customs.
I was in the United States Customs for 20 years,
1969, you came in.
1969 to 1989.
Yeah.
Right on the June to June, right on the head.
You found a home up here.
Yes, I do, yeah. I certainly have in this place, more with
Well, when did you buy here?
1970, June 1970.
And who did you buy from?
Clifford LaPlante.
Okay.
Clifford LaPlante had bought this
Yeah,
place.
Clifford had taken Mrs.
Lambert.
Lambert,
Yeah.
Marjorie Lambert, inherited the property from Ernst Neuenfeld, and she couldn't handle it.
Okay.
And she lost it for taxes, and it went to Clifford LaPlante, who rented the property. He changed the name.
Here, let me show you a picture right here that Ron had.
He changed the name to the Pine Tree River Ranch, which was there when we bought it. But I have attempted to repopularize the frog pond image of the place. It's on my personal checks, as you know. It's on my truck, and it's on a sign out in front now.
Now, on the picture, did you freeze this, Calvin?
No.
Well, let me show you again here. Could you freeze this in here just for a second? Let me try to explain here what we're seeing. Okay, the building straight ahead is the home that we're in. We're in the back section, and then just behind the house, you see a building. That was an ice house, I believe. Right directly behind there were 3 ice houses, and then down further, the White House right behind the sign, that was the Slaughterhouse that we saw. It was a 2-story, nearly 3-story, and they had a garage on the end and so forth. And it was right over here behind where we showed you the foundation.
And Mrs. Lambert had her office in the second floor.
Okay, now, and then, so you got it from, did he live? He didn't live here,
No.
Clifford. You're talking Clifford Sr., that was the mayor of the community. And this is a picture, another picture showing the road on the railroad bed coming in. Just, okay, and there's nothing else I guess we can see there.
Has it been mentioned that, to the best of my knowledge, this is the oldest railroad in the United States?
The oldest railroad?
Oldest railroad, to my knowledge, is the oldest railroad in the United States.
I didn't know that. I know the railroad was put in through here in 1850, and I don't know where it originally came from.
Okay.
It was, the Ogdensburg Lake Champlain,
Ogdensburg Lake Champlain.
where it originally started.
My source of information on it, as you know, there's a real enthusiast in Morris, Larry Marnes,
Yes.
and he tells me that his knowledge is, it's at least one of the early ones, not that somebody didn't start a railroad to go a couple of miles here, a couple of miles there. But as an organized railroad enterprise, it was one of the very few.
There used to be a railroad from Plattsburgh went through Moors at one time.
Yes,
It
went
was
north, yes.
You can still see the roadbed.
Now this picture here, take a freeze this one, then we'll kind of explain what this is. This has the house on the left. All right, that would be the opposite side you can see in the previous picture. The next building to the right, with the 2 windows on the 4 windows on the top and the 3 below, was the Slaughterhouse. That's where we saw the foundation. The one to the right was still there, and the one way to the right is one of the ice houses. Now, was that here? The back building was here when you bought
Oh yeah,
the Slaughterhouse,
yeah.
and you tore it down.
It was all rotten because of the amount of steam generated by the slaughtering. The sills,
Steam?
the sills were all whatever. I mean, it was hot water anyway. They had
Oh yeah.
some of that was in the process. But anyway, the sills were all rotten, and the stairs went rotten and one thing, so it wasn't worth doing anything with.
So you just tore it right down.
Yeah, when we bought the place, it was our intention that my parents would occupy the house, and I would remodel the apartment out there for myself. But my father had a major stroke 2 days after they moved,
Oh.
and he lasted about 6 months.
So this picture was taken by you here.
It was taken, yeah.
This is a picture that was after you acquired the property.
You burned the ice houses around, was that what it is?
Yeah, I burned them down. Emerson Grimshaw burned them.
Now, this is what that building looked like, a very nice looking building, but I guess inside it was not very good, huh?
It was very It was built of extremely nice wood, but cheaply built.
Yep.
Mr. Neuenfeld was apparently him. Take this house. This house has 2 by 12 clear fir floor joists on 12-foot centers or 12-inch centers, and there's 2 12-inch steel I-beams in the floor.
Now, you know, Mr. LaBelle was telling us, he was telling us that he thinks my wife's grandfather, Israel Minette, built it.
Israel Minette built it.
Did build it. All right, well, listen, you can tell Israel's building, they build very to last, and
He built my house.
he built mine.
Yeah.
Oh, you know,
And Arcade Barbo was the carpenter.
Yeah.
Arcade Barbo was the carpenter. One of the carpenters.
Yep. Did you add this room back here, or was that here?
No, that was here.
It was here? Nice back here. You can look
Oh,
out and
lovely.
see your river, huh?
It was just about intact as it was.
You've got water, you've got trees, you've got breeze, a great wind coming.
Yeah, we got that.
Birds,
You got
squirrels.
birds and squirrels, the whole thing. All right. One more picture. And this is a picture where we were standing out when we first saw the canal. This was the entrance to that canal where we saw the, what do they call that, the breakwater, where we said his name is out in the end and the footprints and so forth. This is at the end that the water, they could either divert it out into back into the river or come down. And there's a little building you see right over that first there's a valve there.
Next to the end of the dam, there's a building.
Yes.
It was covered. Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah,
there's a building there.
That all fell apart.
Yeah, well, of course it was there. You know, and remember, it's not that long, really. You know, 40 years.
Well,
Weather
it's right there in the woods, you know,
Yep.
and you don't use it, and the
Yep.
water and the moisture, they go
deterioration.
fast.
All right. So, what else do you know that you can tell us, Ron? So, you moved here in 1970. You've been here for 24 years. That's a long time, nearly a
Yes,
quarter of a century.
It seems like yesterday. Of course.
Huh? A quarter of a
24
century, you know.
years. Yeah, and we haven't done much to the property. I like nature things or natural things, and the property will generally go. I'm generally letting it go into an ecosystem, which is except right around the house. Just let things go natural the way they are.
Are you enjoying your retirement?
Yes, very, very much.
I don't have enough time because this is it's a volunteer thing for me, but I enjoy meeting a lot of people, learning a lot of things. I never had any idea exactly what was back here. I've been in the driveway.
Yeah.
Who does your driveway in the winter, Ron?
Norman Richards.
Norman Richards
Okay.
from Prairie Mills.
That must be quite an undertaking to keep the snow
Well,
out of here.
he's got good equipment. Yes, I need to do it myself. I did it the first 2 or 3 years by myself. I had a Cub Cadet with a blower on it.
Uh-huh.
And I froze many a day out there. Boy,
Yeah, just because you got a tractor doesn't make it easy, does it? You still got to get out there and do it.
Yeah.
Imagine by the time you finish one end, the other one's filling in again.
Pretty well, because it's right there a prevailing wind.
You ever think of building a garage out next to the road and walk
Well,
out that far?
Yeah.
What a way to do it.
He does it. He plows it right.
Keeps you right going. All right. Anything else, Ron, that we should know?
I can't think of anything. There's so much. Did you mention the fact that there were years when there were over 100 tons of fog legs
No, I.
shipped out of here?
Let's take a break. Be right back.
We'll take a break and come right back. Stand by, please. Picture you're seeing is a picture that was in the Plattsburgh Press Republican on Saturday, November 28, 1992, nearly 2 years ago. An article indicating the Champlain man unearths vestige of the frog farm, and that is Ron and Jerry. And then there's some of the dam, and this was a good article. Go with it. How did this happen? Did they contact you?
During the early stages of developing the project for doing the dam, one of the DEC men was acquainted with the feature writer that did the article. And he suggested it to him, and he came on and did the article.
Okay, it mentions in here let's see. His driveway is an old railroad bed for the Ogdensburg and St. Lawrence Railroad, which he suggests might have been one of the oldest in the nation. The railroad began operating in the mid-1820s, and the bridge abutments where it crossed the river can still be seen. We showed you those. But the mystery lies in the unusual cement canals that cut through the woods behind Marquardt's house. These canals represented the livelihood of Ernst Neufeld, who operated a very lucrative frog farm on the property from 1937 to his death around 1953. From the information he's collected, he would process up to 100 tons of frog legs a year. And can you imagine how many frogs that would take? Apparently this paper got out to North Tonawanda, New York, where a man by the name of Morris A. Tatro wrote a letter to Ron and Jerry. He said, "I have read an article in the newspaper where you wanted information concerning the frog farm. Therefore, I give you the following. The canal was built near the dam which crosses the Chazy River and ended below where the pump house is. The purpose of the canal was to store frogs during the winter months mostly. The water flow was controlled at the canal entrance. The canal was divided into many sections. Slots were on each side of the cement." Now this is what we were looking at.
Right.
Screens were placed in these slots to separate the frogs while letting the flow of water through. Now, that's what I think would have different ages of the frogs, different size frogs. Only a certain amount of frogs were placed in each pen. This eliminated, to a great extent, the piling of frogs on each other, which would cause death on the weaker frogs. The goal was to keep the frogs alive during the winter. Wooden dams were placed before each screen to control the flow of water in each pen. I've been calling them canals and everything else, and they're called pens.
Yeah.
The flow of water also stopped the freezing during the winter. The frogs that tended to pile near the screens were taken out first, and the legs shipped to different areas. Very few frogs came from around the area. Some came from Vermont. Most came from Canada, as far north as 50 miles. Have you ever, did you hear from anybody else, Ron, other than him on this?
No.
No, what happened is we have a Rouse's Point address.
Uh-huh.
So that was sent to Champlain, and they sent it back to him. So he sent it to his sister. So that's why we didn't get any more information, because our address wasn't in Champlain.
I have always kept my Rouse's Point mailing address. I don't know why.
You still have it around this point?
Yes. My
So that's
actual
why we don't know.
physical address is RD1 Champlain.
Okay.
But it's
So-
Post Office Box 162 Rouse's Point isn't my mailing address.
What's your 911 address?
145, right?
Okay, 145
Same
Paris
as-
Mills Road.
Same as the Champlain ambulance, right?
The frogs were bought by the pound. There were ideal locations in Canada when in the late fall months the frogs would migrate toward the water and shore areas for winter hibernation. Fences were strung up so the frogs could not reach their destination and pile up against the fences. They were then bagged and brought to the frog farm. There was a duty-free fee at the customs. Some did not want to pay the duty, so they would bring their frogs about a half a mile from the American-Canadian border. These were picked up looking across the railroad track toward Canada. They were smuggling frogs, Ron. You're living on property that was built with smuggled money.
My house could be seized.
Here you are. We're customs people, and his son works for the...
Well, they used to make those fences, then they had holes ever so far apart. The frogs would jump along there to try to get it through the fence. They'd fall in them holes. Then they'd go there, pick them out of the holes.
I think there's a statute of limitations on that.
Oh, it's a statute. They still got our pensions, Roy. We've got to watch this here. These were picked up looking across the railroad toward Canada. There is a road to the left which goes into Canada. At that time, there was only one farmhouse on that road. There was a gate at the border crossing, but no customs house. The road was rarely used, so the crossing could be done quite safely.
Was that the road there
Where the
Ferris
missile
Mill.
base is?
There's just out of Ferris Mill. That's
The Roxham Road, huh?
no, that would be
Oh,
the other road.
the other one.
road, the glass road.
The glass road, the
Like,
one.
like the Richard's Trailer Court.
Yes,
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
there's
The
a road
glass
that
road.
goes through there.
Mhm.
That's the glass road, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't read this letter first, or I wouldn't have read that here. The first people who started to work at the Frog Farm were Ivan Godin, Godin, from Montreal, Jacques Lemieux from St. John's, Quebec, Sandy Phillips from Detroit. Now, Sandy Phillips, of course,
He's still around, is he? Or
he
he's-
died,
He died.
but his
now?
wife is still around,
Yeah.
former wife. A woman secretary. The last name, I believe, Godin from Montreal.
That must be Miss Lambert.
He's confused there. It's Miss Lambert.
All right, she
There
would
was
take.
a Seymour there was a Seymour that worked there too. What the hell was this first name? Seymour.
See what she would take care of Mr. Neufeld's business. Mr. Neufeld was a nice man, I have to say. The working price then was 25 cents per hour. During the Second World War, I do not know, as I was serving in the armed forces. The platform you are standing on in the picture was a building with a second story used for tenants for the Frog Farm. That's the
That's where
old
Miss
slaughterhouse.
Lambert was their office.
That's the slaughterhouse.
Yeah.
The road is still there, following the Chazy River around the property. That's the one that Calvin
Yeah.
took around. Was constructed of stones from the river
Yeah, that's what I told you. See
and
that
was
picture?
used for
Yeah.
vehicles and a walkway.
Yeah.
If there are any other questions you would like to know, I'll gladly give it. Sincerely, Morris A. Tatro.
What's that, Morris Tatro? Was that Roger Tatro's brother?
I really don't know who Morris is.
Oh no, he's not around here anymore.
His
I think he had
sister
a
lives
brother.
down on Cedar Street.
Oh, yeah, all right.
Simone?
Simone?
Yeah.
Yeah, she married to
Ray Juno.
Ray Juno,
That's
Okay,
Roger's.
Okay.
that's it.
That's
it.
Roger's
That's
brother.
his sister.
Roger's brother then. Okay, Morris was Roger's brother. Now, I saw a picture at a wedding that someone that looked a lot like Roger. It might have been Morris. So this article, you
It's
want
got-
to
They got the years there, 36 to 37.
36 to 19,
53 in the
yes,
article? In
yes.
the article?
1936 to 1953.
Or 37 or whatever.
I've said 37, I beg your pardon. The frog. Water entered one of the main canals from a block just below the dam. It flowed underground for about 100 feet, passing in front of the home before entering the home. That's the old one we showed you
Yeah,
down
yeah.
where the one closest to the road. A second canal began at a breakwater about 50 yards downstream from the dam and cut through the back of the property. When Marquardt bought the land, water still flowed through the canal, but he since dammed it up. So it was going through there when
Oh,
you
yeah.
Take them
Yeah, I showed you where
inches
we
of land
dammed
every
it.
spring. It never occurred to
I
me.
showed you where we dammed it up.
Yes, right, but I didn't know that the water was still going through. Still going through
yeah.
there.
In torrents.
Yeah, I see. It's falling into on one side now.
I used
Yeah.
to think it was pretty to see all that water going through, but then I
Well, see, there's
figured it was dirt
nothing to
color.
hold it. These
Yeah.
sap ties across from one
So I
side
was
to the
using
other
tons
with
of
all
soil
that.
every year out there.
Yeah. Mr. Neufeld must have been an imaginative person to construct all this, Marquardt said. There are all sorts of other canals that I have no idea what their use was.
You probably noticed out there, every place you looked at, there's a little canal going somewhere.
Yeah, I noticed some of them going. Now, you mentioned off camera when we first came in that during the war, people, as I mentioned the other day, they were suspicious because he was German,
Yeah.
and they thought that he might be here to spy on the Americans. Now, you told me that you think he was interred during the war?
This is a story that I base thoroughly on rumor. I have no factual knowledge of it. Was that he made out a loyalty oath at a bank, which you had to then. You couldn't never make it do it now, and it listed several subversive organizations. And Ernst Neufeld had been a member, apparently, of the early Nazi Party in Germany. So, being an honest fellow, he just checked off yes on the Nazi, right? And we were halfway through World War II at that time. And he was, I guess they were up to get him in a couple of days. And he was interned in a camp in Georgia. But it was an old estate. I guess it was quite a luxurious concentration camp. The man I've been told that's in charge of it was Eugene Lincourt from Rouse's Point. Jim Lincourt's father.
Yes, it used to be, of course, immigration and was the director of immigration for all this whole area
At
here.
that time, he was head of the Border Patrol.
Yep.
And then he went into immigration.
Right. So you see, when we start out looking at the dam, and then we get Bill LaBelle in the picture, then we end up, you never know where we're going. We're down now in a concentration camp in Georgia.
That Noonfeld?
Yep.
He was in a concentration camp?
That's what
I was told that.
That's what they said, because they got to know that the stories. Oh, here we go. Even back then, they didn't know what to do with the extra part of the frogs, so they would throw them in the river. But local farmers would pick up the carcasses and use them as fertilizer. We mentioned the Blaines did that. Noonfelt probably used all kinds of frogs for his business. He would buy some, but he collected a majority from nearby fields during their busy migration period. Noonfelt would hire many local people to collect, maintain, and process the frogs, paying them 50 cents an hour. Frog legs would be shipped by rail to all parts of the country. Today, vegetation is starting to grow on the bottom of the canal, and you saw that, and you saw trees coming out of the bottom of the canal.
There's no point in trying to preserve it.
No.
Nature takes over.
But there's a lot of history. And of course, remember, it's only 40 some odd years ago that it ended, and how fast it takes over. You know?
Yeah.
Nature.
Look at a ski shop. You'd never know there was a
That's
ski
right.
shop.
You're right. Exactly.
And that was a famous ski shop.
Yeah. Well, see, he was manager at the ski shop.
That was famous everywhere except Champlain.
That's
Ski shop,
true.
eh?
Yes, it was well known.
Oh yeah, among your
Bob Sweeney, he used to use our tower over the sawmill. He'd get up there to wash the field with his glasses. You know? Somebody coming through, he's caught a few that way.
because among your professional ski competitors, that factory was famous for reconditioning their skis, right? Repairing them.
And then the guy that got that, he tore everything down. My God, you haven't been down through there lately? It's a forest there now.
Yeah. Well, it caught fire. Of course, all the years of accumulated.
Well, I mean, the
varnish
only thing that burned was a sawmill way up on the hill, but the rest of the plant that was torn down. And my God, we got trees like that.
Mm-hmm.
You had a lot of building there. A lot of you.
Oh yeah. Well, you see, they got the pictures I've got on.
Yes.
I got the nice pictures.
And a lot of the skis were used during the war.
We made a lot of skis during the war.
Yeah.
We had a contract one time for 38,000 pairs. We're shipping out 500 pairs a week.
How many people did you have there at one time?
One time, 68.
68 people working there. It's gone.
48 girls and 20 men.
Yeah.
Well, you couldn't get that. Everybody was gone.
Yeah. For you people, I'm sure that don't know, the younger people, if you go up Butternut Street past the Episcopal Church, and as you make the curve next to Dave Southwick, right on the right, that wooded area.
Solid woods.
Yeah. I used to get sawdust there once in a while for my daughter's horses back in the 60s. When did it close, Bill?
Around 1970. We had a contract in 1968 for, I think, 8,000 pairs. That was the last one.
Now, you made water skis, too?
Yeah, water skis.
You made chairs.
Regular snow skis.
You made chairs, too.
Chairs and
I've got some
tennis
chairs.
rackets, badminton rackets. We made 40,000 displays for Pal Blade. The little Pal Blade, little thing like that with a little plastic front. And a little mat with a jewel on it and a little blade.
Yeah.
And Pat Blade is gone. I don't know.
Yeah. All these things that come and go, folks, and it's too bad that we hope that these tapes will last for years and years and years. Although at a symposium I went to down at the Genealogical Society in Keysville, they said videotape somewhere between 6 and 10 years.
And all the mess tables at Pine Camp, or Camp Drum, was made right in Champlain.
Where did you get
and
all your
all
lumber?
the ladders, the shelvings. We got subcontract from masons in Peru. They had so much to do that we subcontracted.
Where did you get your lumber?
Well, around here, some farmers all over saw it out ourselves by the log. We had a sawmill.
And you dried it?
We had dry kilns. We had everything.
We'll take a short break and a telephone call. Be right back. We're talking with Ron Marquardt and Bill LaBelle. We'd like to thank Jerry and Ron Marquardt very much for letting us run around their property here this morning, taking pictures, Ron, and for filling us in. One more thing before we do that. Are they on your property out here, the DEC working?
I believe they own right up to the river.
The working trucks are.
Yeah.
But the site itself is slightly on the village property.
That's on the village property.
My property, my IP iron pin set, which is surveyor's mark, It's about halfway between the railroad abutment and that cement wall.
Okay, so you don't own all the way to the road out there at this point.
No.
All right. Now,
Yeah.
Ron, one
You
more.
own to the road.
Huh?
You own to the
I
road.
own
But
this
not
way,
out
but
here,
not that
huh?
way. In other words, look, I
Just
own
the
this way.
railroad part.
I know, I own out this way, but not
You
out
bought
that
all
way.
the railroad bed.
All right.
Yeah, all the
Now-
railroad bed. Right.
Now,
And the width of the railroad.
you only had one person that answered when you said you'd like to get more information. If there's anybody out there who has any pictures of either any of the Frog Pond buildings, area, or Mr. Neufeld,
Yeah, it is.
we would like to have you contact us so we can get a copy. I'm sure Ron would like to get more pictures of this area. And I don't know whether my grandfather, I don't think he ever took pictures of what he built, but I will talk with my
Because
uncle.
part of where it
See if
is
he remembers
is
that.
ours.
That's right, yeah.
Part
So
of it
anyway,
is
out there, thank you very much, Ron, for
My pleasure.
and when you see Ron, tell him you enjoyed your little tour around the Frog Pond. And remember, even though it's not here and it wasn't here when he came, it's still the Frog Pond. You want it to be known as the Frog Pond.
Right.
And watch at the next
Well, I
parade
mean,
for the
that's
big
a-
bull,
that's a
Big Mac
place
truck.
Big Mac truck. Big gypsy.
We'll be right back. We're going to be talking to Bill LaBelle later on some of his pictures in and about the ski factory. We've moved into Bill LaBelle and Mr. and Mrs. LaBelle's home on Main Street in Champlain, and we're sitting in the kitchen, and we're going to look at some pictures and talk a little bit about the ski factory. You said you started there what year?
1927.
27.
April. About the 4th or 5th of April.
And then you were an employee there until 1942, I think you said, when you became manager?
Yeah. Well, I was foreman for a while, but after Mr. Bringbird left to go to Arkansas, he started a sawmill down there, and the war started. Then I took over.
What's the difference between a foreman and a manager?
Well, the foreman just goes around and helps out or sets up people, to show them what to do. And
But so then, when you became general manager, you didn't do that. You had.
well, I still done it.
you
Yeah.
still
but-
did.
oh yeah.
Did you have a foreman that you made then yourself?
Well, I used to have a couple here and there that knew the work, and they could always teach others.
Hmm. And you had as many as 60 people, I think you said at one time.
68
What was the normal number there?
was usually around 18, 20 before. No.
Year round you worked too?
Yeah. Never lost a day during the Depression.
That's
The
great.
big Depression. The people was coming from the Sheridan to work just for their firewood.
Hmm.
Like the different ones, like Joe Colomb used to work over there. He worked on machines and he helped to make the machine. And there was Greg Ware. What was his name? Honoris? Or
Yeah, yes, on our right on the
Honoris?
curve
Yeah,
going down into the
Michael
building.
Greg Ware's father. Yeah, he used
Uh-huh.
to come over and work just for his stove wood.
So you burned the scraps? Is that what they
Yeah,
they
we
burned?
burnt the sawdust and
But I mean, and he would get wood that would be scraps
yeah,
for him
stuff,
to
yeah,
take home?
scrap that we cut, foot length, and they take that.
Mhm.
But there wasn't much work then. That work was scarce.
Yep. You were married?
No.
No, you weren't married yet, huh?
No. I got married in 1941.
You mentioned that earlier. Okay.
Yeah.
Were you living at home with your parents?
Yeah.
Where was that, Bill? Where were
French
you?
Village. You know where the Carey lives up there? They have the houses for sale.
Right across from Sonny Babby's area. Yes,
That's
right.
my mother's home.
Okay,
Yeah.
about halfway between Moore Street and.
Right next to that cement block house.
Yeah. Okay, Mr.
That-
Supernall lives in that area.
That was George Finuck's house. It was built by George Monette.
How big of a family did you have? How big were your brothers and sisters? How many?
I had 3 brothers and a sister. That was 5 in the family.
And your dad did what?
Well, he was a machinist at the Sheridan here. He was a carpenter, and he died at.
You mentioned something about him that was very unusual.
He disappeared.
He disappeared.
In November, end of November or early December, and nobody knew what happened to him. They found him in the spring, around the beginning of April, the end of March or beginning of April.
And they found him in the water.
Well, in the canal, where the canal went to the powerhouse.
The powerhouse was up
In
that,
back of Bedars there, on Mill Street.
and that water
Back
came.
it was in back of the old grist mill. When there was a grist mill, the grist mill was run with that water too.
It was an underground,
Yeah, it went right down from the canal. It went down the chute, way down the hill to the powerhouse.
and he was found in there. So he must have fallen in.
He was found up above where the grates were. That's why I went there to clean the stuff in the spring that comes down the water, and they pulled him up.
How old were you then?
My God, when they found him, I was a little over 2 years old.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
A little over 2 years old. I was 2 years old in January. That's about a month and a half later.
Yeah. So we're talking back in 1906.
10.
10, because you were born in 8.
My brother Delor was born in March, and he was found a few weeks later. So
Disaster. We told you where it was on Butternut Street. If Calvin can freeze this picture in right here.
Get it out of the sun.
Okay, let me see here. We'll get.
Get it out of the sun.
Where's the sun? I can't tell.
go that way a little bit.
How's that?
That is good.
Can't you move over that way a little bit, sir?
Okay.
Okay, I think he's got it now. He's got it in the machine there. As we look at this, Bill, point like on the right hand side. What was that?
That's the spray room. That's the spray booth right there.
The one at the small section on the right.
Yeah,
okay.
spray booth. There's a fan right on the end here where they would suck the stuff right out, blow it out.
Mm-hmm. And then where
the
the
packing room was right here.
And then the two windows, that's part of the packing room?
No, that was the spray room.
That's the spray
where
room
they
too?
She put her things after they were sprayed. That was all open right there where the spray booth is and it.
Mm-hmm.
And she had racks where she'd put the skis on or whatever you're doing.
Mm-hmm. What's that long pipe that goes up? Is that
That's a smokestack.
that was a smokestack that goes straight up. Uh-huh.
Yeah, smokestack.
And then you see you got a Texaco gas pump in front?
Well, that was a compressor for the spray booth.
Oh, it wasn't a gas pump.
Well, there is a gas pump.
There is a gas pump in front of it.
But there is
okay.
a compressor too right
behind
there.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right behind it. That's gas pump. Yeah, we had our own gas.
Uh-huh. If you look just to the left between the two telephone poles, you see the mode of transportation. There's some bicycles there.
Oh yeah, people in days.
We're using bicycles.
Some walk, a lot of them walk. You know, they didn't think nothing about walking a mile in days.
This picture was taken in August 1948. What was the round?
But the sawdust and shavings from the saws and the planers would go in there.
With those pipes?
Then we'd take from there to the door on the bottom that we'd to shovel it out for the boilers. The boiler room right next to it. In the back
The
building.
big roof there, that was the boiler room?
Not all of it. Under there, the bottom part of the
Uh-huh.
boiler room. Then above there was a dry kiln.
Okay, that's where you
Dry
drag your
lumber.
wood up.
Yeah.
Now the actual plant was where all the windows here to the
Yeah,
left.
that's it. Yeah.
And,
And the office is way over.
way over to the left.
Uh,
What was the building behind? It looks like there's something up on
well, that building right there was a sawmill. That one that burned.
the one up in back next
Yeah,
to
that
the
was
tree.
a sawmill.
Uh-huh. And Butternut Street's going right by here in front
Yeah.
from left to right.
See, the street, it wasn't paved
Mm-hmm.
like it is today.
That's right across the road from where Anakemia had that big metal building.
That's right, yeah.
And it was directly across the street from there. And just to the right, if you could see it in this picture, was their residence. Where
Henrik
Greenberg
there was a driveway right here.
Uh-huh.
Then the residence was there a few feet further over.
Okay, so that's and then all your power was coming in with these three
That's
big
right, yeah.
transformers. Right now, it was also interesting that this is being kept in this envelope, and it's postmarked 1948 from Savage Studio in Plattsburgh,
Oh, this-
addressed to the Greenberg Ski Company. Was it called the Greenberg?
Greenberg Brothers.
Greenberg Brothers?
Yeah, but everybody agrees to refer to it as ski.
Yeah, the ski shop. The
Yeah.
ski shop.
Yeah.
Yep. Matter of fact, Harris, they still say the shop, and they haven't had a shop there for
I
years,
know
you know? They still call it the old shop. So this is an old thing that went with the pictures.
Well, I refer that to the old Sherman Ironwork. I still refer to the Sherman
Oh,
Ironwork.
yeah, we always do, yes. Now, this picture of Calvin, I get it where we got some shade here. And you freeze this in, and we'll try to explain. This picture, Bill gave me a photostat of this some time ago. I made a photostat. This picture is taken outside the front door.
Right next to the office building.
okay.
There was a little passageway between the mail building and the office part.
Mm-hmm. Now, did all
That's
these...
where the punch clock was and everything. They come in.
Okay, everybody was in this picture work.
Not all of them. There's we couldn't get them all in there.
But I mean, all these people did work there.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
then we're going to try now to get them in a smaller section so you can get a closer picture, and we'll start again. We're looking at the right-hand side of the picture. The four people standing up on the left.
Hector Cardin.
He worked with you for a long time there.
Yeah, quite a bit.
Who was he related to that we know now? Anybody?
Nobody that I know.
Armand Cardin related to him?
Armand Cardin? No.
No? Okay.
No. It might be Ray. It might be cousin. I'm not sure. It's
Okay.
possible.
The next one,
That's Gerald. Gerald Babby, I believe.
it is Gerald Babby, with Sonny Babby's brother,
Yeah.
and he's still around.
I don't know where if he's around here or in Plattsburgh or.
Gerald's probably in his late 50s, probably
Yeah,
today.
yeah. Errol Hyde.
Harold Hyde on the right with his arms folded.
I don't know. I think he's still around here. I see him once in a great while. He looks a lot bigger than that. He's changed a lot. Of course, he's older too.
Yes,
you know.
he is.
He was just a kid then.
Right.
Then, Arthur Barrier.
Yeah, down below is Arthur Barrier. That's that lived in Champlain, now living in Plattsburgh. Lived in the senior housing for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, he lived down there. He had bad arthritis, I think.
Yes, he did.
He went back through a rough time.
Arthur's sons, living in Rouse's Point. I'm thinking quickly off here, Rainey Barrier, Romeo, and then there are only the two. There's a third. There's others. Roy.
Is there one of his sons that married one of Rainey?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Gay's daughter.
Yes, that's.
She's a hairdresser, I think.
Yep, that's Rainey. Okay, we're going to switch on to four others now. Thank you for tuning in to Hometown Cable. Remember, it's on every day from anytime between 1 o'clock in the afternoon and midnight. You can't be any more than 10 or 15 minutes without Hometown Cable being on. We move to another section of the picture. We're doing it this way because we want to get close up. Person on the left.
You don't know him?
No,
You should.
I should.
Norman Cardin.
That's a Cardin. That's Norman, huh?
Yeah, you know, his sister married Bill Castine after Henry Garso died. She was married to Henry Garso. Then she married Bill Castine.
Oh, that's it.
She only died there
Margaret Cardin, yes.
That's her brother.
Her brother.
Norman.
And the man next, he looks familiar.
That's Clarence, my brother.
That's your brother.
Yeah.
Clarence LaBelle in the middle with the hat. And the right,
It's Errol Glode. Glode. I don't know. So you spell it. They spell it Dave.
there's three different ways you
I
can
know
spell
it.
it. Yes, there's three
Yeah.
ways.
And
The man down below?
Isidore Duquette. That's Homer Duquette's uncle. That's Homer Duquette's mother's brother.
Uh-huh. Homer Duquette's
Uncle.
his father's brother.
Mother's brother. But his mother was a Duquette.
Oh my gosh. Oh, they were both Duquettes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
They were both Duquettes. All right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, I think he might have been she might have been his cousin. I don't know, but they were both the same name.
when my wife brought this picture, copies of it, down to the restaurant, they just went crazy looking at these old pictures, and some of them that were at the restaurant were in the picture. We'll be right back. We're going to get another section of the picture. Now, the three ladies I do recognize, because it looks like you had a lot of Cardins working at that plant.
Yeah.
Huh?
Well, she became one of the best sprayers we ever had.
She was. That's Bina
Yeah.
Cardin on the left.
She was good. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
He done the spraying too, but he worked in the plant more.
The other one. All right, now, the next person is very close to the church in Champlain. Not only does she attend the church, and her daughter works for Father Joe, but she lives right across the street.
Yeah.
Ruby
Lefebvre Tetro.
Lefebvre Tetro. There you go. You even got the middle name. Lefebvre Tetro in the middle. That's Ruby. Her husband is Roger. And the other lady to the right we lost last year. She passed away. That was Ruth.
I thought wasn't it this year?
Well, it was
Early
said
in the year.
It was early in the year or late. Maybe it was early. That's Ruth. Her maiden name was
Glode.
Glode Rivet. Rivet.
Yeah.
Rivet. R-I-V-E-T. And she was employed. Did you have a lot of ladies?
She's a good worker.
She was a good worker
oh,
too?
Man, she's a good worker. They're all good workers.
They're all good workers.
All good, yeah.
We better say something about Ruby because we already
but,
said Bina's.
She was good.
They were all good?
She was a good worker.
Did you have a lot of ladies working there?
Well, at one time at 48.
You told me
during
during the
wartime.
war.
Then
Yes.
20. The men that worked in the glue room doing the heavy work, and the others, the women on band saws and rip saws and planers and things like that. You have to. You couldn't get nobody.
Did you have a stock crew after you made something to keep it, or did he go right out?
Well, mostly went right out. Years and years ago, we used to have a big stock of skis that was built during the summer and then sold. But that time went on, they went out as fast as you could make it.
Now, the Greenberg brothers were who? Who were the two brothers?
It was Enric and Oscar.
Okay, Austria. Of course, did they both work at the shop later?
Oscar once in a while would come in. I think he did most of the paperwork.
He was at the shop. I mean, not your shop, but he was at Harris.
Yeah.
Harris.
He was working
Sheridan.
there. He wasn't manager. He wasn't manager at the Sheridan when I started. He was just working in the office there. I don't know if he was the accountant or the bookkeeper or what, but he was taking care of most of the book work for the ski shop.
Okay, we have two other people that maybe we should have mentioned first, but we didn't. Now we're getting to the important people, Bill. On the right is Bill LaBelle in 1948.
Yeah, that's me.
6 years he had been manager at that time. And on the other man standing?
Pascal Burke.
Pascal
You would
Burke.
call him Pat, but his name was Pascal.
Did he work there? He had a tie on.
Yeah, he came in from Montreal. He was working with he came around 1948, 49 when he first came around. I don't know what kind of he was mixed in with this Alex Andreef. Andreef is the one that brought in some contracts for these knees, for landing bar stuff, and he was with him. I don't know what setup they had, but he'd come down about a couple times a week. Just happened that day he was there when he took the picture.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You told me that he was in law school with...
He graduated from law school with Earl Warren.
That later
he became the Chief Justice
of the Supreme Court. It was his
Yeah.
classmate.
He told me all about that.
You know,
And
Bill didn't have much more hair then than he has now.
my hair grows so fast.
But your hair, you still have a full head of hair.
I get cut every month. I get cut, and it's
But
like
you
that.
don't have any bald spot at all, Bill. How do you
No.
do that?
Use a little kerosene.
Is there anything else you want to tell us
Well,
about?
that's that.
Anything about that picture we should know?
No,
Nothing else?
The only
Okay.
thing I can say that's the main entrance where the punch clock was right in there, and we had all their cars in there. They come in and out, and there was a door in the back between the buildings that you went up, and there's stairs in the back where you went up to when you're going to the sawmill.
You have just one shift?
Well, I had some work in the evening sometime on piecework. If we were in a hurry to get stuff out, some people work piecework.
Mm-hmm.
Little Ronnie Mayo, he was good at especially putting hedges on. A small guy with small finger, boy, he was good. Ronnie Mayo lived down the street here.
Yeah.
I don't know, is he still living for Anakeemia? He started working for
I'm
that
not sure.
long
I
time
can't-
when they were here, then he moved to the other place. And
Don't know. This picture, we don't know. We'll get back in and leave it live, Calvin. We don't know why this is in here. It's a 1937-38 picture of the Fife and Drum Corps at Mount Assumption Institute, MAI, now better known as part of Seton. When MAI and St. John's merged together, and this is the Drum and Bugle Corps. And one of the things that's interesting to me is that this is my brother right here, next to the drum, right there. In this picture I happen to notice, and there's some other people obviously we know, but I can't tell you who they are. But we just figured we'll show it to you as the Drum and Bugle Corps. Did the man on the screen ever work for you?
no.
Who is that
He
man?
used to go around a little bit with my wife's sister.
Yeah?
He used to hang around a little bit with her, not too much. But that's where he sent her this snapshot when he was in the service.
And what is his name? Stanley Supernaut.
Yeah.
He's got a son named
you.
Dave, they tell me, and he was the person that took us through on one of the best tours I've ever had of the waste treatment in Rouse's Point, New York. And I understand he's a faithful viewer of Hometown Cable. So, Stanley, we hope you enjoy seeing yourself here in one of your younger days.
Yeah. Yeah, younger days.
In 1913, there was a big parade in Champlain, the Saint Jean de Baptiste, which is in the end of June, right? June
Yeah.
24th, I think,
Something around that
or
time.
around that time. And this picture is taken on Main Street in Champlain, and as you say, many people don't know where it is.
That's right.
Where was that taken, Bill?
Around by Gregoire's house. I'm going around the curve by where the telephone company is now.
Right. If you're looking up, and as you look at this picture, there's a curve that goes off to the right. In the back, and to the left is the telephone company. This is the house where they're fixing the road right now. They're right across.
Mike Gregoire.
Mike Gregoire. And just back a little ways to the right is St. Mary's Academy. And that was taken, I think, in 1913, and I'll show you why I think that. Now, I'll tell you where this is. This was taken June 24th, 1913, which I think the other one may have been taken the same time.
That's right.
And this is looking at the corner of Cedar Street and Main and Champlain on the south side. That door on the left is the door that goes in today, or that's the window rather. The door I think is a little bit back further of the Auto Parts of Champlain. It says William Broder. He owned the hardware store. Do you remember that?
Yeah, Broder and Branch at one time, I believe it was.
Branch got involved in it.
Yeah, then Bill Paquette first started working as a clerk working there before he went in on his own insurance.
And where you see that first balcony from heading toward the right, that was directly over the entrance to the Paquette's insurance company up until they moved up on Upper Main where they are today. And the next one,
Love's Diner.
Love's Diner's been there recently. And then Pecor, Noster Pecor, which was Arthur Pecor's grandfather.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And he had a store here selling hardware and I think appliances right where the Benny's is today. And that's what you see on that side of the sidewalk. You'll note the poles and the dirt street in 1913.
It was dirt.
Yep.
It was dirt in 1917. It was still dirt.
Yep. So that's what we think that is. And then in the picture now, where it says E. Trepanier, was a department store?
Yeah, that's where Kaufman bought, Kenneth Kaufman.
Kenneth Kaufman bought that from Trepanier. Trepanier used to own the house on the corner of Pine Street.
Where Jack
Zerlo lived later.
Lived, yeah.
With that nice corner. And then as we look through, it says Robert's Beauty Parlor right behind the man.
Robert's sisters.
Yep, they were.
I remember them.
Yep, and then there's a harness maker. It looks like Jodwe, the harness maker.
He worked there, then he had a place in Costello's block for a while.
That was further up on Main Street.
Jodwe.
This is that same time of St. John the Baptist, and it's looking to the right, it's going up Church Street Hill.
They're going east right now.
Yes.
The parade's going.
And all of this buildings are gone with the fire they've had over the years. But look at the horses and not in the picture there, but in one of our pictures we have the corner on the lower right, not in your picture, but in ours it's bigger. There's a fender of a car of about that vintage.
The Ford.
Okay.
You can see the fender straight in the front.
Yeah, you can see here there's a Ford. You know that's a Ford?
Ford, the fenders went straight like that, Model Ts.
So that's Paquette Park now.
Yep, Paquette's Park is right where those buildings are. Not much of a park right now.
And who are the ladies in the window watching the parade?
Yeah, up above here. We don't know who they were.
They're long gone.
They're long gone. Apparently, and we've had a lot of floods over the years, and this one was April 1911, according to the picture. And we've been discussing where this took place, Bill.
Yeah, that's where it is, like
Okay.
you said.
I think this is where they're putting in the new pipe now across from St. Mary's, right across from Gregoire's. If you went out down to the river and looked toward the bridge, you would get this picture. The house on the top center is the funeral home. Right in front of it is that brick home where they used to have the harnesses and so forth, where Jimmy Franklin lives. And then to the left, on the corner, you said
a creamery, a butter factory, where they used to make butter there.
Right, and that later became the big garage by Tremblay, and also the bowling alley.
When I bought my first car here, that's where I used to put it in 1938.
All right, so that's 1911, and I don't know if we can get a fast change over here, Calvin. This is 1911. Same flood, but taken looking south, or east, southeast, and in front of the Champlain Hotel on the right.
Yeah, not many cars around.
Nope.
Just a buggy.
Yep, and that Trepanier building we talked about before was the one over on the left. You can see only part of it. And that white building way down.
That was Jimmy Glode's father. He had a store there.
Okay, that's the one you see just to the left of the buggy, way in the back.
You remember the Western
Auto.
The Western Auto that was there. That was Jimmy Glode's father. He had a store there.
Okay, and then that later was Ed Leeds, and that's been torn down now.
Yeah.
That's all gone, and so is the front porch. from the Champlain Hotel. High water, Champlain, New York, April 1911. There's something that was in Champlain many years ago that most of us have never seen, but have heard a lot about, and that was the island. This is the island, Bill.
The park on the island.
Right, and that's the flagpole.
That must have been taken just next to the KC. There was no KC then at the time, but across the river from just about where the KC is now.
Over on the right here. And this was sent through the mail September 28, 1912 to Miss Rose Lapine, Moores, New York.
Well, you've heard of Rose Lapine.
I have heard of Rose Lapine. Somebody called me, wanted to know some genealogy about her. And I did see some other pictures you had of her.
Yeah.
What else do you know about Rose Lapine?
I don't know anything.
No, okay. You remember my telling you.
She must have been 18 years old or something. I wasn't very old then.
No, you weren't. You weren't old enough for Rose Lapine.
I don't know who she married or anything like that.
I don't either. All right. But not only the floods that caused a lot of problems in Champlain, over the years we've had some disastrous fires.
I guess they have.
Well, wait a minute. One more picture of the high water here. Another one from 1911. And as you look at this picture, Calvin's going to freeze it in and we can turn and look at it at the same time. This is another picture looking, and there's that white building we talked about.
That's right.
On the left, the Globe. We're all... And then there was another store here, wasn't there?
That was St. Maxon's.
The one that's a little bit closer to us in the picture.
St. Maxon. That's Ferdinand St. Maxon's father.
Okay.
Well, Mrs. St. Maxon, that's living now, she was Ferdinand's wife.
Right, and this is her father-in-law's store.
Her father-in-law's place.
Yeah. Look at the size of those ice pieces that are right in front of what was the American House today.
And even the old buildings, they still had marks on them where the ice hit along the building. Now the buildings are gone.
Yep, so all the buildings on the left are gone. Mrs. Castine lives in that area now, and Mrs. Filio.
Filio, there's
Leo's wife, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Robin's Nest, not the American House.
Okay, American House, now known as the Robin's Nest. I beg your pardon.
In the hill by St. Mary's.
On the hill by St. Mary's, on the corner of Cedar Street. The other things were the fires. And one of the...
You're right up there.
Right, way in the back in this picture, you've only got that little bit right there. That's the Whiteside House where the telephone company is today.
That's right, yeah.
I didn't realize we'd been looking at this because I have a picture of the Whiteside House that was taken just of the house that was recently sent to me by young John Whiteside, who comes into Champlain every year, and this year rented from the Laurens down near Paquette's camp.
Mm-hmm.
And I went out to meet him. I've written to him, and he sent me 2 pictures of the house. I gave one to Celine Paquette for the historian, and I have one. But it was right there at the top of that hill. The hill wasn't as high then, Bill. Did you notice the hills get higher as we get older?
That's right.
You've noticed that,
Yeah.
huh?
Oh, yeah, definitely. But they don't bother me that much.
They don't
I used
bother.
to run up mountains years ago with the kids, and now I wouldn't do it. I'd walk up.
This is a picture of a very well-known building in Champlain, New York, on the corner of Oak and Elm Street, and it's behind that stone wall, which is the Clark Funeral Home. And it was the McClellan home.
McClellan.
And 1912, you remember the fire.
Yeah, yeah.
Now you were about, you were only 4 or 5 years old.
4 years old.
But you remember that.
About almost. Well, see, that was in April. See, I was 4 years old in January.
It started down on Main Street near
It started Costello's, I believe.
All right, and then
At a
jumped.
barn from there, they kept jumping.
Jumped across the river, and burned this house down
And they
completely.
burned some barns further back, I don't know just where. They made a sweep right through.
Yep, it got into, so that was a big fire. There's a lot of pictures and cards around of that fire. Here's a picture of the people who are pumping water.
From the old Niagara.
And I think this is right down near the Whiteside House where they are pumping the water, right down next to the river.
No, not the Whiteside House, but not the where the Knights of Columbus is now.
Do you think this is the Knights of Columbus area?
On this side. Yeah, it was low. It was low land there at one time.
Okay.
And they filled that in. And
All right.
Over here was the house, the road's right here. The house was there. Louis Camus' house was there.
On the right-hand side.
I'm not remember Louis LaFontaine's house.
Okay.
Further up here, and then Dr. Wooten was there.
Up higher, you okay?
So but they filled that in a lot since, and now they're using it for a parking lot.
Yeah, you're right. Now this is, again, April 27th, 1912. And this gives you a better idea, if Calvin can get this one now. We're talking with Bill LaBelle at his residence on Main Street, and he's got these great old pictures. Okay, this picture, Bill, tell us about this one.
Well, I suppose my mother told me that was me and my sister right there. She was 8 years old, and that was on this side. That wasn't very big then.
Okay, sitting down on the sidewalk on the left.
Okay, let me take this again.
Okay, we'll take
That
it
wasn't very
again,
big then.
because we can get a closer shot of that, Calvin. You just saw the overall picture. This is just after you cross the bridge going up Oak Street, the bank building on the left. At the day of the fire, April 27th, those two children, is you and your sister.
Yeah, that's what my mother said.
All right. And you can see the horse and buggies, and you can see the house in the background. Maybe you can't see it now. You could have before. We may show it to you again. And we'll also show you the Knights of Columbus building. But that's Bill and his sister.
Them days, there wasn't a Knight of Columbus building.
No,
then.
there sure wasn't.
I think there was a dentist that was using that. I don't know, it's a Bradford, I think his name was, dentist.
There were an awful lot of people who've used that building. And that's the second building from the left there, the one with the two windows you can see facing us near the pole. That was today the KFC building. At that time, later became the theater, the furniture store, and other things. And then you can see the smoke in the background. And a lot of people come to the fires. Then, just like today. Huh?
Yeah, that's right.
All right, that's also 1912. The back of the card says August 31st, 1915, Bill. And this is the Champlain house downtown?
That's right, the Champlain house, or hotel.
The roadster car, and then the people, there was an entrance on the right-hand side.
There was two entrances. There was one here, one further back. One that the bar was way in the back. I don't know if you remember that.
No.
Before they changed it, you don't remember that?
No, not really.
Then they changed it from there to the front.
And then the front entrance, of course, and it had the porch. All the porches are gone now.
And the trees are gone. It was beautiful.
Everything is gone, yes. Again, dirt road, you said until 1917 at least.
Well, it was still dirt road 1917 when we 1918, when we moved away in 1918, it was still dirt roads.
Yeah.
After a big rain, it was just like it was next to the nice dam there, the white side. Then we went
tough,
there.
Huh? Yeah, it was tough.
Just mud.
Did your dad have a car? Well, you weren't. Your dad was died by
there
then.
were no cars in days.
No, your dad had died. And so how did you get to Burlington, say, in 1918?
We moved from here in April 1st, I think it was April Fool's Day, 1918. Well, there was nothing around here, just wartime, everything.
Yeah, that's right,
And
First World War.
My mother had worked in these cotton mills when she was a young girl. She knew how to run all them machines. She had no trouble getting jobs.
Yeah.
So we grew up there. We went to school there.
So how would you get to Burlington from here?
Well, my God, it cost you a quarter from here to Burlington.
By the train?
By train.
By the train.
I remember one time I got a tooth broken right down there. My brother Delor with his hockey stick, right? He got me right here, broke the tooth. I took the train and went to Burlington to the dentist. The dentist I usually go to and come back the same day.
Yeah.
The day, my God, you can't do it.
Can't do it. No, it's hard to get to Burlington.
It's too bad that railroad ruined everything through here, Nobody could get coal anymore. It cost too much to haul coal.
You mean once it left?
Yeah, well, all the milk stations, every company, every place that they were using coal. Then they had to have all their, like the Sheridan Iron Works, they had to start hauling their coal from Rouse's Point. Then they turned to oil.
Yeah. We'll get a picture of the left-hand side of this picture now and show you the front, maybe more of the front, and then the building next door. There were businesses in what was now known as the Ma Dupi building. There's been several businesses in the little building just to the left of the hotel, Bill.
Well, I don't know who was in there then, but I know that in 1927, Arsène Tremblay had his barber shop there.
In there?
Yeah.
And he moved from there to the right of the hotel later.
When he moved over here, he built that section on the side of the brick building, the barber shop.
At one time, I heard they had a appliance business or something. I think Jefferson was in that building for a while. Back in I don't.
Yeah, but he also was in the Frank Jefferson was in the across the road there.
You mean where?
At the arcade building. He was in there for a while with furniture.
Well, isn't this across from the arcade? Oh, you mean in the arcade building?
Yeah, right
He was
across
in
the Champlain Hotel.
Okay. He was up and down here. They were.
Well, I don't. He might have been in there, but I
Yeah.
don't recall that.
Now that looks like a rocking chair on the front porch of the hotel.
Well, they always had a bunch of chairs in
They
front
did,
there.
huh?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Everybody used to sit in the front here.
Yep.
They'd take them in the late fall and during the summer. My God, there was half a dozen chairs out there.
Here's another picture that same time. This is the, just get an overall view. This is the funeral home after the fire. How much it was destroyed. Okay, this is the front steps to the funeral home, April 27th, 1912.
Yeah.
Then it was rebuilt.
Really gone, eh?
Yep,
All
really
right.
was gone, it's for sure. I had another picture here. I saw that another picture of the flood. I don't know if it's 1911 or not, but it could very well be,
It would be the same one, I believe.
probably. And it shows a man with his boat in the middle, looking up to the
Looking up towards the John
white sides up there.
House,
Yep.
yeah, the curve right up there.
Yep, another picture. And we want to show you this because on the right-hand side, we're going to get a separate shot now. I was in talking to Bill a couple of days ago, and he mentioned the name, and I remembered seeing this picture with the name on the building. And the name was...
Cesar Lejeune.
Yes, it's right
He
up
was a
here.
tailor.
He was a tailor, and I
Yeah.
saw that, and I had never heard the name. And of course, Bill draws these names out of his memory, like everything. And I don't know if he was in that building or not, but at least it had his name on the
I
building.
think he was still there when we left here in 1918.
Okay, then down below it said Saint Jean Millionaire, and that's where Manny's is today, and that's the Doopy building just to the right.
And the hardware store is right over here in the corner.
Right,
Rotor and
just
Branch.
and there's those two porches that used to stretch out over the top of the
Yeah.
sidewalk. And, just old Champlain, and he's a great old picture. I got this picture, by the way. It was given to me by John Southwick. Dr. John brought this up to me the other day, and I think I've seen the picture, but I've never noticed that sign before, but he got me a nice copy of this. And another one of the pictures that he brought me, and this is just overall again, is a picture taken from Main Street about in front of Robin's Nest, looking down toward the corner of Oak and Elm Street with the two buildings in the center, the old A&P Grand Unions, now where the co-op is, and the Sears and so forth later. Masons are upstairs, the Masonic. And again, the Paquettes were on the left, and this is taken in the 20s sometime, Bill, from the cars. Anything you
Still
remember
had
here?
That porch was taken down. I don't know. I think they had that different places. Like the arcade had one.
Yeah,
I
they
think
had
it's
that
still
stuck
there.
out. Yes, I
Still
see it's
there.
over there. You can see it in this picture.
Yeah.
Right behind the cars on the right, you can see a porch. And that was upstairs over the arcade.
Yeah.
Didn't have much grass to mow, did they? They were right
It
on
was
the
beautiful.
street.
In the summertime, it was just like an umbrella right over the village, from one end to the other in the
Yeah.
on the village.
If you can see the picture of the car on the left, right over the top, it says Saccone. There was a station there, and that was by
See that?
Tremblay. Arsène Tremblay
Yeah.
had a station
Yeah.
there. How much of that can you get, Calvin?
Okay, drugs and medicine.
Okay, another picture given to me by Dr. John Southwick. On your right, the picture there is the Falcons Drugstore here. And then the next brick house is Wallace and Kate Zweers live there now. Mrs. Glode had lived there. And then the...
That's made a reverse.
yes, well, we're looking at it from the back, Bill. So over here now is Doolittle's house. Was it Doolittle that...
No, that must have been Foster Strickland.
Foster Strickland, I beg your pardon.
Then the American Legion was in there for a while.
Yes, and then the next over is the Hogue Drugstore corner.
Didn't Henry Lavoie live there for a while?
He lived there for a while, yes, they owned it later on. And then as you go down, you see that old car according to John Southwick, that car in front of the White House belonged to a man by the name of Charles Lucas of Parish Mills. Then you see the Hogue Drugstore as you go further. And then, look tough looking at it in reverse here, but the car on the right is about in front of the New York Bargain Store.
Yeah.
And then you can see the buildings on the corner downtown, which is today the building for the Masonic Order. Main Street, about 1938. Notice the big trees, a lot of shade. It was nice downtown in Champlain.
Yeah. See, let's see that the other way around. That makes see, that there. I think Teresa Glow. I don't know what her marriage name.
Zweers lives there. Yes.
She has a lot of stuff put in there. Fact is, they never would sell anything.
Yes. Still don't. I guess. Yes. Yeah.
She won't sell nothing. They just keep buying stuff and they just pack it away.
The building I mentioned back here that looked like I thought was the old Grand Union.
The arcade,
it's
right
the
there.
arcade.
The arcade.
Yep. And their porch is gone here in '38. It used to be out in front. And the next one up, right, over the back of the Trepanier store.
Yeah.
And then down the east side or north side of Main Street. Another picture that I got from John Southwick. Then another picture that John gave us is a picture taken this side. This is the Presbyterian Church on Oak Street right over here, and they were here in 1938 to dedicate this plaque or this sign for the first school in Champlain was located here. This house belonged to Dr. Gagne back years ago. I think that's where his house was.
Well, Dr. Allen was there.
Was that Dr. Allen? Dr. Gagne was where?
When Dr. Gagne came in, he had his office in the Gagne's house.
Okay, but who lived where Van Acker lived?
Gagne, I think.
That was Gagne there. Okay, this is Dr. Allen or Gagne.
Dr. Allen's house.
Dr. Allen. Oh, I beg your pardon. This is Dr. Allen's. And in this picture, there's 2 or 3 people that I would recognize. This second person in here, see only his head, is David Southwick. And this man right here, between this area here, is Malcolm McClellan. McClellan, I beg your pardon, not McClellan. He was the...
he used to take care of the cemetery.
And he was a librarian for a while in town.
Yeah.
And he was the brother of...
His uncle of
Woody.
Woody.
And his brother was, help me, that did the designing.
He was an architect, but I think he wasn't he designed at the monument at Crown Point?
Yes, I think so. He did the one in Plattsburgh. This girl right here, we think, is Elizabeth Greenberg. Now her father would have been
Oscar, yeah. And her brother's Robert.
Okay, right here, Robert Greenberg's sister, we think, is right there, by looking. There are other people we're trying to identify, but we haven't so far. This plaque was put up in 1938 in August, July or August, so we know this is a 1938 picture. Again, we're indebted to John Southwick.
55 years ago, you know, that's a long time.
Yep. In this picture, also given to me by Dr. John Southwick, it's about 1922 or 23 in front of the old Champlain Academy in the corner of Prospect and Elm Street. He tells me that this 4th person in right here was Charles Woody McClellan. Woody, that ran the print shop. This gentleman right here, is Kenneth Kaufman, that ran the store later and was married, and it was Jane Kaufman LaPlante's father. The lady behind here is his Aunt Lucille Southwick, and she was Charlie Southwick's youngest sister. There are several other people in this picture that we should know. I know who graduated in 22, 23, 24, and 25, but I don't know who they are. Eleanor Coonan, who was...
Don't any of them would have a yearbook with the names of the ones?
There were no yearbooks back then. I know the names, but I don't know which one is which.
Oh, you know the
I've got to
one
see
place?
Claudia Lavoie. I think she's in this
There
picture.
should be somebody around here
Yes,
that
we'll-
graduated that would know that.
Claudia is in this picture, I believe. Of course, Kenneth isn't there anymore, and Woody's gone, but there are some other people that might be able to identify for us. I tried to see Bennett Dane, but he wasn't here at that particular time.
No.
He graduated about 9 years later, so he was too young, just starting.
No, yeah, you would.
And you went...
I don't think he was living here at the time, was he?
Yes, I think he came about 1920 or so.
Yeah.
He came, but he said he was in the first grade, and he wouldn't know those
No,
people.
no.
This is probably the high school or 7th and 8th in high school at that time. Again, thank you, John Southwick.
There's.
On the left here, this picture, this building, Bill, is what was later known as the Candy Cupboard.
Yeah.
And there's a...
But that's beauty parlor was there before that.
Okay, and you had something very close, you said, to that building.
We lived right on the upstairs.
You lived upstairs in that building, on Main
Yeah.
Street.
Yeah.
On the, I guess that's the north side of Main Street. And this building on your right, with the buggy or in front of it there, or the fire truck, with everything out there, was a fire. That's the fire of 1912. That home was whose?
I can't remember until Barrier.
I think his Boyer was there, and there was, I think the LaFountains were involved at one
Well,
time.
there was a LaFountain that lived in an apartment on the end of the building.
Or
The guy, he was a railway clerk that